Have you heard about our Lucky Day collection? Items in this collection cannot be held, requested, or renewed, and they will help meet high demands for popular materials and provide a fun and spontaneous library experience. See a book you've been dying to read that you're 20th in line for? Well, it just might be your lucky day. Welcome to the Allegheny County Library System Book Haul. These are books that we've recently purchased and are going to be hitting shelves soon, so see what's new this month. These are just books that have caught my eye and are things that I feel like are going to be really popular this season. First, in our mystery thriller category, we have The Anatomy of Desire, and this is about Claire, who rebrands herself as Cleo and becomes a popular social media influencer. She's risen in popularity. And one day, her and a woman named Beck go on a canoeing adventure, and a few hours later, Beck is found dead and Cleo is missing. And there is news that she may be involved in this, and her and Beck may have known each other, and their ties were a little closer than we're originally led on to believe. This is told in the form of a docuseries, and I think that this is going to sound really interesting. Next, we have The Hunting Wives by May Cobb, and this has been receiving a ton of hype. This is about a woman who grew up in the city, but she moves to a small town in Texas with her husband, and she finds that life is just a little too quiet. She ends up joining kind of this secret group called the Hunting Wives that gets together and they party all night, and they're up to no good, mostly, and she gets further and further away from her family. The dead body of a teenage girl is found where the Hunting Wives meet, and she finds herself in the middle of a murder investigation. We have the historical picks, and one is Astrid Sees All by Natalie Staniford. This takes place in New York City in 1984. This follows Phoebe, and following a tragic death in her life, she is kind of struggling to figure out what she wants to do, and so she kind of gets sucked into the underground and kind of nightclub culture of New York City. There is the intoxicating lure of sex, drugs, self-destruction, which kind of leads her on a path to betraying even her closest friends. In order to try to make amends, she has to really dive into the culture that she has submerged herself in and face what she has been running from this whole time. I have Our Woman in Moscow by Beatrice Williams, by the same author who did The Summer Wives. This takes place in the Cold War, and we follow, I believe, Iris. Her family has just disappeared in the middle of the night, and 4 years later, her twin sister Ruth gets a letter from her. Ruth is on her way to Moscow, posing as the wife of a counterintelligence agent in a precarious plot to extract her sister and her family from behind the Iron Curtain. Next, we have Haven Point by Virginia Hume, and this follows a family through several different decades through American history. In 1944, we follow Marin as she is meeting her husband. Then we jump to 1970, where they are married and have their daughter, and something happens during the summer, and it is with the Vietnam conflict that is going on. There is a lot happening, and something happens, and they vow to never return to Haven Point. Then we are in 2008, and Annie, their daughter, returns to Haven Point to spread Marin's ashes, and she comes to find out that her mother did not tell her the full story of what happened that summer. Then we have The Bohemians by Jasmine Darznik, and this takes place in 1918 and is definitely a love letter to the arts during this time. We follow Dorothea as she arrives in San Francisco. She is invited into kind of this artist group. Her best friend Caroline and her start a studio together, but a betrayal kind of rocks their studio and pushes them to a breaking point and alters the course of their lives. This captures the glittering and gritty 1920s, a vivid and absorbing picture of the past. The possibility of self-invention persists. Then we have The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, and this has also been receiving a ton of buzz around it. We follow two different women in two different time periods, and we follow, I believe, Mary Ann as she is taken in by her uncle, an encounter with these pilots, and falls in love with flying. And so she kind of dedicates her life to flying. She decides that she is going to fly over the North and South poles. Then it is Years later, Hadley, who is an actress who has been cast to play Marianne, given her disappearance and how her disappearance kind of has taken the world by storm. So she is going to play in a movie as Marianne before she disappears. And as she is learning more and more about Marianne's story, she learns to connect with her story and really starts to see herself within this story. Then I have 2 lighter reads here that are more romance heavy. First we have The Friend Zone. We follow Kristen as she swears up and down that she just has no time for men. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she's hiding a secret, that she has to have a procedure that will make her infertile. It's absolutely impossible to have children. So when she's in her best friend's wedding, she meets the best man, Josh, instantly drawn to him. He's funny, sexy, and never offended by her. And things are going great, except for he wants a really big family one day. Tackles the realities of infertility and loss with heart and a lot of sass. Then we have A Love for Beginners by Jill Shalvis. And this is about a woman who wakes up from a coma only to find out that her fiance and her best friend have fallen in love in that time. So she's eager for a new start. She tries to start a doggy daycare, but the only space that is available for rent is her arch nemesis, Allie. And people start dropping off their grandparents and stuff to the daycare, and she's just kind of rolling with the punches at this point, only to realize that she has accidentally fallen in love for the evil PT and that Allie might actually be her best friend. So this is kind of a story about how things just don't always go the way that you think they will. And then just quickly going to name drop some books that are coming in. Susan Mallory has The Stepsisters. James Patterson has a 21st birthday, and then part of the Robert B. Parker series, Payback, is also going to be hitting branches. That's it for this month's book haul. There are a ton of new books as well. These are just ones that I felt like highlighting. You can place a hold on any of these items now, or you can check into your local library branch and see if they are on the shelf. Don't forget to give this video a like if any of these titles interest you. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.